Yes lads, welcome back to another video. In this one today, I'm going to be showing you how you can pick up and drop items with physics inside of Unreal Engine, specifically weapons. So when we walk over the weapon, we can actually press F to interact with it, and we can pick it up and then press F again to drop the weapon. Make sure you stick around to the end of the video because I was showing you a little secret trick we can actually do with this system, and it's pretty cool. With all that said, it's going to be really easy to follow, so let's get started. Since I'm going to be using a weapon, we need to actually import that. Now, if you don't have one, you can either go to the Epic Games Marketplace or just use like a cube or something like that, just for the sake of the tutorial. I'm going to import the Desert Eagle that I made inside of Blender. If you are interested in that, you can find it in the comments below or in the description below. You can go check it on my Patreon. I'm going to drag it in. Now, this weapon that I have is made out of different parts. So let me show you. If I click on the barrel here, I can actually move this forward and backwards. Now, this is good for actual games. Let's keep it really simple for this tutorial. I'm going to make this into an actual static mesh, like just a complete static mesh with no moving parts. So we can select them all and click merge from the actors section, just like this, and I'm just going to rename it Deagle. Okay, sweet. So we actually don't need all these parts anymore because we've got a combined static mesh. Now we can just drag this into the level and have a little look at it, and it looks pretty cool, but we have not got a texture on it. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to add a quick material to this. Let's just have a look. So as you can see here, we don't actually have a material, so I'm just going to right click, go to material, rename it m_deagle, or Deagle material. That'll do. I'm going to press 3 on our keyboard, hook that into base color, and then just choose any color if you're liking. I'm going to go with like a gold color and change the metallic to 1 and the roughness to 0. This will just give us a golden material we can just shove on top of our Deagle. Then what I want to do is I want to make it a little bit cooler. Obviously this is not really to do with the tutorial, but let's just do it anyway. So I'm going to add the starter pack. Here is the starter content, and specifically I want this like hexagon texture. So we're actually going to go into here, search for hex, drag in the normal, and hook the RGB into normal, and it just gives us this really nice cool effect. Now we can actually just drag this material straight onto our Deagle, and there we go. It looks pretty cool. Now we have something we can work with. Just open up the static mesh, and I'm going to change the material inside the static mesh to our gold material, not this one. We want the Deagle one, just like that. And there we go, that's changed. Now, we need to do a couple of things to make this weapon work, and you may or may not need to do this. So we're going to go to collision, remove the collision, and then add a simplified box collision. This just gives us like a simple collision box around our Deagle so we can actually interact with it. Like I said, your weapon might already have this, but it's best to just remove it and re-add it just to double check it. Okay, now that's all sorted, what we can actually do is right click our static mesh, and I'm going to go to Asset Actions and create a blueprint. Rename this whatever you want. I'm just going to rename it Deagle for now. Click Save. And now we have a blueprint of our Deagle. Now, when I did this last time, it actually didn't work because I created a blueprint first and then added the Deagle. Don't ask me why, but it just didn't work, so I'm doing it this way now. Now, if you go into the Blueprints folder, we actually have our Deagle. And the reason we're doing a blueprint, I'm just going to rename this BP_Deagle, is because in Blueprints we can actually add functionality, unlike just the normal static mesh. So I'm going to rename the static mesh, which is here, to Deagle static mesh, just for easier access to it. Okay, sweet, so we need to do a couple of things. We actually want to add some physics to this. Well, we're going to simulate the physics, and I'm going to show you why. Because when we have this weapon in the map, obviously it's just floating in midair, and we don't want that. We want to be able to drop it on the floor and pick it back up, etc, etc. So we need to do a couple of things. First, let's actually simulate the physics, like I just said. So with the static mesh selected, let's click simulate physics and enable the mass. Put whatever mass you want. I'm just going to leave it at 100, it doesn't really matter for me. Now, it's not really doing anything, and I'll show you why in a minute. So let's actually just go to the event graph. I'm going to delete this, and we're going to add an event. Right click, add event, and it's going to be start overlap, well, begin overlap and end overlap. I'm just going to add a print string to these to show you what this is doing. Just duplicate this, plug that into there, so when we overlap the object and we stop overlapping the object, it's going to do two different things. Now, What we're going to do is just compile and save for now, and then we're going to change these print strings, just to give you an idea of what on earth is going on right now. Okay, so let's just change this, and when we overlap it, I want to put something like in range can pick up. And when we leave the overlap, I'm going to put like not in range, cannot pick up, something like that. This right now is just for testing purposes. It's just to show that once we actually overlap it, this is what it's going to do. It's going to fire off this line of code. So I'm just going to change the top one to green and the other one to red. So let's have a look and see if anything works. Now, nothing's working. And you're thinking, what on earth is going on here? It turns out I made a little bit of a mistake. I actually added the overlap to the deagle instead of actually adding the collision box. So if we click add and add a collision box or box collision, we need to add this overlap event to the box instead of the static mesh. Okay, so now we have a box collision, we can actually add some functionality. So let's add the begin and end overlap, just like we did a minute ago for the static mesh. And we're just going to remove this out of here and add it to the begin and end, just like that. That's the correct way to do it. I apologize, I added it to the mesh. It was not supposed to be like that. So as you can see, when we actually walk up to it, it should print something, and it is still not working. Now, why is this? This is because whatever we have in our level isn't actually a blueprint. We still added the static mesh, and I'll show you what I mean now. If we just look at it, there's no box around it. We actually need to drag the actual blueprint in instead of the static mesh, because these two objects are completely different. So let's just remove this static mesh because that has no functionality, as you can see there. And when we walk up to this one, we actually have some functionality. So in range can pick up. Now, I just wanted to demonstrate this, and this is the way I did this tutorial because it was a bit of a pain to debug this. I couldn't figure out what was going on. And as you can see, this one actually has physics because we set it up inside the blueprint, not like the static mesh. Okay? Right, let's move on. So I'm just going to add a quick variable here, and we're going to put something like in range. What should we put? Let's put in pickup range. Now, every time we go over this overlap box, we're going to set this variable to true because we are in range, just like this. And you can just do that by dragging it out and holding Alt, just like this. And then when we end the overlap or leave the overlap box, it's going to set it to false. So now we have a variable to work with. Sweet, and we can actually use this as an input into our print string. So let me just show you that as well. Now if we walk up to this, it'll say true or false. So we're setting it to true, and now it's being set to false when we leave the box. Okay? And apologies, I had this backwards. Yeah, it was supposed to be begin and then end. Yeah, just like this. So it should be true, and then it should be false, just like this. Sweet, let's move on. Now what we're going to do is move into the BP third person character, or any character, well, your main character in your project. And we're going to right click and search for any key. We can click on it, click the little keyboard, and assign a key just like this. Now I've assigned the F key, so when we press the F key, it's going to fire this line of code. And I want it to just print a string. I've just renamed it do something. So when we press F, it's going to do something, just like this. And then, as you can see, in range and not in range, just like that. Sweet. Now we have our input. I want to show you the correct way to do this. So if we just go into our folders, you should have an input folder. This is our IMC, input mapping context. We can actually add an input here, just like there. And you should see input action. If we go to actions, we have all these different input actions, and we can just create one here. We have one for moving, jumping, looking around, and everything. So let's just create a new one, and this one is going to be called IA_interact or IA_pickup, anything you want really. And let's just put it inside the input folder, and now we can actually choose a key, just like this, and I'm going to use the F key. And this basically does the exact same thing as just adding a key like we did a minute ago. So let me just show you. If I do IA_pickup, it gives us a lot more options. That's why it's better to use an input action over this just like F key. And if we click compile and save play, it'll do the exact same thing as it did a minute ago. So I'm just pressing it now and it is doing something. Right, okay, what do we need to do next? We actually need to change the collision presets on our static mesh. So with the static mesh selected, we're going to go to the details panel and we're going to change some of these settings. Now, let's change the collision presets to custom, and that gives us the ability to check different boxes. So we're going to ignore all for now. And we're going to change this here, well, make sure it's on physics body, and then this one's going to be physics only. We're going to enable destruction or destructible, physics body, world static, and world dynamic, just like this. This means that when we walk over the object, we can still like pick it up and attach it to our character, but we're not going to be kicking it around all over the place. So if compile and save and click play, the gun will fall and we're not kicking it all over the place now. Sweet. Now, somewhere in the event graph above our IA pickup, in the BP third person character event graph that is, we're going to right click and we're going to search for event begin play. Now, out of event begin play, we need a reference. So we're going to get all actives of class and we're going to search for the class that we just created, which is BP DayZ, or whichever gun class, weapon class, whatever that you created. Out of our actor, we're going to get a copy and we're going to promote this to a variable. This gives us a reference to our weapon. Now, rename this whatever you want. You can rename it DayZ, rename it pistol, rename it whatever. I think I might just rename it to DayZ Ref, and we're just going to connect this up here. It doesn't really matter, to be honest. Just remember the name of it. What should I do? I'm just going to rename it weapon for now. That'll do. Compile and save. Now we have a reference to our other blueprint and we can communicate to our DayZ through the third person character. Now what we need to do is add another variable, and this one is going to be is equipped. So this is going to be checking if the weapon is equipped. Like if we've already picked it up, we're going to set this to true, and if we've not got a weapon in our hands, then this is going to be false basically. So lads, if you've made it this far in the video, do me a massive favour, consider subscribing and please like the video because I'm trying to get to 2,000 subscribers and build this channel a little bit more. Obviously, the more support I get, the more videos I can actually make and the more you'll learn. So let's do it. Right, okay, so I've just added a branch out of started and I did make a little bit of a mistake here. I added the wrong boolean and I'll just go over it now and show you basically what I did. So let's just have a look here. I'm just going to get the weapon and I'm going to get in pickup range. And this is where I made the mistake. I actually plugged it into this condition here. I do have my other projects on the side on my other monitor and for some reason it was plugged in here, but rectifying it now, so don't plug it in there, just give us a second. So instead of the in pickup range, we actually want the weapon equipped because when we press the button, we actually want to check if it's already got a weapon equipped, if the character's already got a weapon. So let's just plug this in here, but we're still going to use these two nodes up here, so we'll just keep them there for now. And what we're going to do is, right, okay, so what we're going to do now is out of in pickup range, we're going to get a new branch, and that's going to be the condition, and we're going to hook it up to false. So when we press F, we're checking if the weapon is equipped, and if that is false, then we're going to do this, the rest of this code. So let's get the static mesh out of our weapon, and then we are going to pull out of here and set simulate physics and have that disabled. This is out of the true. So we press F, check if the weapon's equipped. If it isn't equipped, we don't have a weapon in our hands, then we can actually carry on and check if the pickup range is true. If we're in pickup range and there's no weapon equipped in our hands, then we're going to set simulate physics to off, right? Because we do not want physics on while we're holding the weapon because it'll just cause a load of problems. Now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to comment some of these by highlighting and pressing C on my keyboard and just writing a little quick description, because what I'm going to do is I'm going to use this project later on for some other stuff, and I want to be able to come back to this and know exactly like where my nodes are, what the nodes are doing and stuff like that. I think it's just a really good practice, and we can actually do this in open space. So if we just press C, and there we go, we can actually just drag this up here, and it's telling us that the input key, checking if the pistol is already equipped in the hand, and if it isn't, then we do the other line of code. So let's just move this over here. I'm just going to comment this last bit, and I'm just going to put something like we disable the physics, or I don't know, we disable the physics we disable the physics because it will cause a shit ton of problems. How about that? That'll do. Sweet. Right, let's move on. Okay, sweet. With that commented, we know where we're up to, and what we can do now is attach this actor to a component. Now, the actor is going to be, obviously, our blueprint, our BP Deagle. That's what we want to attach, and the component is going to be a bone on our mesh, like this. So our mesh is basically our skeleton of our character, and then let's just comment this. Who are we attaching to? Like that. And obviously it's going to be the mesh. And in brackets, the mesh with a skeleton. Something like that. Sweet. So that's the mesh we're going to be attaching to. That is our parent. And now the target is obviously going to be our BP Deagle. So what are we attaching to the mesh? Well, it's going to be the Deagle, so I'm going to add this in now. Now, I remember before I made a reference and I called mine weapon. Yours might be a little bit different. But it's essentially going to be this here, this little reference here, this little variable, sorry. And we can just plonk that in there, just so we know where we're up to, like that. Now I'm just going to break this link and I'm just going to add it in just to make it a little bit more neat and tidy. Just going to add a weapon to a couple of these and just tidy it up so it's better to read later on. And that should attach it to our character. Now I'm going to show you a common error which I made in the making of this video. In fact, actually I'm going to show you a couple so you can debug it if you get any of these problems. So first, let's actually add a socket name. Now, what is the socket name? Click mesh and click on the skeleton. Here are all of our bones. And if I search for hand R, which is what I want to attach it to, as you can see here, we already have a socket here. And if we copy the name exactly, then we can use this to attach the weapon. But you might not actually have one, so what you can do is you can right click the bone and search for add socket. You can add your own, but because this has already got one, I'm going to use this one. Sweet. So I've just added a preview mesh by just clicking this, adding a preview mesh, and now that is showing us where it's going to be. So I was going to paste the name in here, which is handgrip_R, and if we click save all and then we click play, what happens? We go up to the Deagle, press F to attach it, and what on earth is going on? Now this is one of the little errors that I was getting earlier, and I couldn't really figure it out. And after some research, I figured out what the problem was, and it's just these three little drop downs. So we actually want to snap it to the target being the socket name. So we're actually going to snap it to that. So when we go over to this, press F, there we go. It actually snaps to the socket location, the one we just previewed a minute ago. I've just gone ahead and changed the camera a little bit on the BP third person character. You don't need to do this, but I just wanted to give you a little bit of a better view. So here we are. As we walk over to the gun, we can press F to pick it up. Now we want to be able to drop it, so let's do that. Now this bit of code is going to be a little bit simpler. I've just added a set weapon equipped to the end of that code there. So once that code's done, we now have the weapon equipped and we can use this variable. Then out of the false value here, I'm actually going to add a print string and rename it something relevant. Let's just see. I'm going to rename it not in range, so when we press F, it's checking, and obviously we're not in range, so we can't pick anything up. And then when we are, it'll stop printing that message, and we can actually pick it up. Okay? Now we can actually go ahead and add a branch, and the condition of the branch is going to be is weapon equipped. And out of the true value, what we're going to search for is detach from, one second, detach, if I can spell, detach from actor, just like this. And the actor is going to be the weapon. But right now, the weapon actually doesn't have a place to spawn. So what we're going to do is get the weapon, and we're going to set actor location and rotation, just like this. And we're going to hook this up to the other part of the code here. Sweet. Now, what is going to be the new location and the new rotation of this weapon? Well, let's compile, save, and how can we get this? So we can actually get the location and rotation of our socket, and how we do that is we're going to get socket location of the mesh, just like this, and then we can add in our socket name, which is hand grip R. So let's just add that in there. I've already copy and pasted it, and then we're going to get the rotation out of mesh and do the exact same thing. Add in our socket name into the little text box here. Let's just delete that. So let's just paste in our socket name, and now we have our new location and rotation, which is just going to be the position of our socket, which is our hand underscore R socket. Sweet. So that will basically spawn the gun at that location once we detach it. But it's going to detach right now without any physics. So I've just copied them nodes, which is the weapon, static mesh, and set simulate physics. And this time we're going to set the simulate physics to on, just like that. Next, out of this, we're going to set a new variable. Well, set the variable for weapon equipped to false, and let's see what happens. When we actually pick it up, it'll just drop it instantly. And why is this? Well, we need to attach one node to another node, and then we're pretty much done. So right here, let's actually have a look at what we need to connect. And it's going to be this branch after we set the node. We're going to set this into true and leave that other node connected to nothing. So let's just add some reroute nodes. And there we go. I've just added a comment as well to show where we're detaching it. And if we go and pick it up, we can actually pick it up and it attaches, and then we drop it with physics. And it looks pretty cool. But that is not the end of the video. So thank you for everybody that stuck around till the end of the video. What I'm going to do is show you another way we can actually attach this, because I know most tutorials just attach the weapon or the item to the hand, and it doesn't actually have to be like this. We can actually attach it to any part of the body we want. So let's do that. In the skeleton of our character, we can actually just right click and click add socket. And let me just go to the top and delete where it says hand. Give me one moment. Delete that. Now we have a new spine socket. This is where I've added it because I want to attach the weapon to the back. I'm just going to rename it back holster like that. And now we can attach our weapon to our back. Now you can imagine this doesn't actually have to be a weapon. It could be a backpack, it could be a sword, it could be anything really. And this is basically how we do it. So let me just add a preview to this back socket, which is going to be the deagle. And I'm just going to position it. Something like this looks pretty good for me. Let's just rotate it a little bit and put it somewhere around there. Sweet. So that is our back socket, and we can now attach that to our back. So all we have to do is in these three attach actors components, we just need to change the name of the socket to back holster. So get socket location, we need to change it on them two, and the attach one. So when we go over to it now, we're attaching it to our back instead of our hands, and we can actually just press F and it'll drop just like we did before. Sweet. There we go. Perfect. That is going to be the end of the video. Thank you very much. If you want to learn how to aim and shoot with this, just let me know in the comments below. Make sure you check out the Patreon to support me. Like the video, subscribe, and I will catch you later. Peace.